as such, we have advertised the agenda item that will be discussed this afternoon. There will be no question time, there will be no any other questions in this meeting. It's solely a meeting to deal with the agenda item, and I declare the meeting open. And before starting the meeting, Clause 91(4) of the Governance and Meeting Conduct Local Law provides the following. This public meeting is being recorded to improve access to the meeting for our community. The recording will be published and will be retained by Council in accordance with Council's legal obligations. As a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. Declare the meeting open and acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we are meeting. We pay our respects to their elders and to the elders from other communities who may be here today. In the opening prayer, Almighty God, we humbly ask Thee to bless and guide this council in its deliberations so that we may truly preserve the welfare of the people whom we serve. Amen. Thank you. Director of Corporate Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. Sorry. All councillors are present, so there's no apologies. Order of business, any conflict of interest disclosures? No conflict of interest. Presentation of reports, Corporate Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the first meeting of this new council, all councillors signed a declaration that they had read and agreed to abide by the then existing Code of Conduct. The Local Government Act requires a new council to review and make necessary changes to its Code of Conduct within 4 months after a general election. The Act also requires that council must call a special meeting solely for the purpose of reviewing and amending the Councillor Code of Conduct. This council reviewed the code that they signed and made some changes to the content and order by moving legislation and policy material to appendices. This amended code was placed on public exhibition for 28 days as required by Council's major council policy local law of 2015. One submission was received and that submitter was heard by Council last week. The recommendation in today's agenda is that Council adopt the Councillor Code of Conduct 2017 unchanged from the draft exhibited.
Thank you. Any questions from the gallery? No questions from the gallery. I have someone move the motion, please. Move Councillor Fuller, seconded Councillor Curry. You wish to speak to the motion, Councillor Fuller?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Curry?
I'd just like to say there's been a lot of work put into this. It is a bit of a border to read, but everything is very well covered, and as such I think it's a pretty good code of conduct.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to speak for, against the motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, with your permission, I know what I'm going to say is probably a little bit digresses out of the motion to a point, but I will say at the outset I am going to support the motion. And I've been probably one person who said I've had difficulty and uncomfortable with the Code of Conduct. The Code of Conduct to me is just a duplication of the Act. Every councillor sits around this table has sworn an affirmation or an oath, and that's to the Act. And all the power that comes out of the Act to give the Code of Conduct hasn't got any power at all. I have had difficulty to say that when I swear something, I swear it and I cannot give you any more. That now that I'm forced to be a councillor, I've also got to sign a Code of Conduct, which I've already done by swearing the oath. The legislators put this in place, I think, to be able to probably worked their way through some difficulties that they had, and I think it's a signal that local government itself per se were having trouble understanding the tools that they have to operate in handling those situations. I find it just to be a duplication of the Act, and then a big percentage of this draft, as you are quite well aware, is a copy with the appendices of the Act. Therefore, it's just red tape that we are forced to sign. You've got the same legislators that get up in great evangelistic style and say they're going to cut red tape, and then turn around and tell us to be councils to be more frugal. Since 2013, this municipality's had 4 codes of conduct. One is the Administrator's Codes of Conduct, and the resources spent on that, I think, over the years could have been far better spent in relationship to services that are for the constituents, instead of wasting our time going over something we've already affirmed or swore. So it's the legislators that have put this in place. It also shows me that there's some disrespect towards our oath and affirmation when you've got to also sign a code of conduct. Because they've already done it. Why should we do it again? And some people out there will say, yeah, but we've got to have teeth to be able to control the rogues. The tools are there, nothing's changed. The code of conduct is only just a collection of rules that are already in the Act that they could have used anyway. And that's the difficulty I've had with it. It's not per se that the code of conduct, because we have other codes of conduct, we have meeting codes of conduct, I don't have to sign them. You have laws in the common laws in relationship to codes of conduct out in the street that has come to play in here as well. I don't have to sign them. But to put it force us now to have to sign this or we cannot sit at the table. And I'll go back that I cannot assure anymore, because there's only 2 other things I can assure in life, and that's deaths and taxes. And that's what it takes to be that some of the importance of our oaths and affirmation is taken away. I will support the motion because I think it is probably one of the better ones that I've come to look at over the time, because it starts to be, although I think it is too heavy in detail in relationship to what it is implemented to do, because we've had some very brief ones when we work our way through the last 4. We've had them from very little detail to over the top. Thank you, Mr Mayor, for your patience, and the councillors, and I felt that would have been remiss of me not to be able to put that out to my constituents, how I come to the point of having to support this code of conduct.
Thank you, Councillor Benton. Any other councillors wish to speak? You wish to use the right of reply, Councillor Hall?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
All right. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. That concludes the business of the special council meeting held today, and I thank the members of the gallery for being patient. Thank you.